the essence with those attendees who are present. And we're looking at the Lite view of Transaction Desk. There is a Pro view as well. Some of you may be familiar with upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, Pro view. Two views, same account, just different features and functions within each view. Lite view, less is more. Pro view, more is better. But in either instance, you have direct access to Authentisign. Here in the Lite view, big blue icon there, middle third of the screen, right-hand side, we're going to click here on e-signatures. We're going to click on e-signatures to directly access the Authentisign service. If you're going through the Pro view, there's an Authentisign link where you can directly go to the Authentisign service. Now, there are a number of different ways to get here, but this is kind of the essentials. In our Transaction Desk Essential session, we show creating a transaction file, and from that transaction file going to Authentisign. Here, this is the Authentisign session, so we're really just going to focus directly on the Authentisign service. We are going to create a new signing. Upper third of the screen center, there's a blue plus sign with the word new under it. I'm going to click there on that blue plus sign because we want to create a new signing. From our dashboard, let me talk about that just for a moment. When we access Authentisign, I refer to this as the dashboard of Authentisign. It shows us all of the previous signings that we've created. We have access to all of these signings simply by clicking on the signing name. We can click and access the details and history of that signing event. So you can always come back, see the history, see the documents that have been signed, either individually, separated, individually signed documents, or that comprehensive final document. You can also see all the history at the very bottom third of the screen, left-hand side. You can see all the history of that signing event. Up at the top, you can see access, or you can forward emails of the final documents. You can review the Authentisign certificate. You can upload signed documents into our cloud storage services that we integrate with, Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive. You can create copies and forward copies of signed documents. You can access your Authentisign settings, our support, and you can log out. But in this instance, upper third of the screen, left-hand corner, there's a pen there that says signings. I'm going to click on that pen to go back to the dashboard of our signings. And now I'm going to click on that new again. Well, now because we want to create a new one. We can always access the ones that we have created or in progress, but in this instance, we're going to create a new signing. First choice, first option. Are you going to create a blank signing? This option allows you that first or default option to create a new Authentisign. You give your signing a name, and you go through the process to create your Authentisign signing. You add participants, and you upload documents or import forms. So you can create it kind of in a manual way in that instance. You can also import from a transaction file, and you can select your transaction file from the list of transactions you've created in your Transaction Desk account. And this is the way I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to pick one of my files here. I'm going to go with Bradley Michaels. I'm going to choose this transaction file. And this will link my signing to this transaction. So as I go through the steps, I'll be prompted with transaction details, like contacts to my transaction can be added as participants to my signing. Forms and documents in my transaction can be imported into my signing. Once the signing is complete, those final signed documents will be delivered right back to my transaction. Now, I can certainly create a blank signing, that top one, just none of those features will be integrated. I'll just go through those steps and add my participants manually. I will upload forms and documents manually, and I'll just go through those steps in that capacity. We're going to link this to our transaction file, and I'm going to click on Continue. Upper right side of that dialog box, Continue, and we'll come into step one of creating our new signing event. If I had chosen just to create a blank one, the name field would be blank, and I could type in the signing name. In this instance, Authentisign has named my signing after my transaction, which is okay, but I actually want to make it more unique. I want to identify what's actually being signed. I want to give this signing name something more unique that I'm going to recognize. Maybe it's the purchase contract or the buyer agency agreement or the counter offer or something like that, so that I can visually recognize this signing from any other. And that's what we'll call purchase contract and buyer agency agreement. This signing name will be referenced in the email invitations that AuthentiSign sends out. It will also be referenced in the email notifications that I receive back as the creator. Those notifications notifying me that my participants are going through the signing process. So that's where the name, a unique name, can be a helpful identifier when receiving those invitations as well as those system notifications. Participant order is how AuthentiSign is going to deliver the invitations out to your participants. So you can see that step 2, little middle third of the screen, step 2 is where we will add our participants. Here in step 1, we want to determine how AuthentiSign is going to deliver the invitations to those participants. Inline, by default inline, AuthentiSign will deliver the invitations one at a time through a very specific order. When we get to step 2, we'll add our participants. We'll have a first participant, a second participant, and so forth through those participants to our signing. AuthentiSign will deliver the invitations one at a time. The first participant would be the first and only participant to receive the invitation. Once they complete their signing portion, AuthentiSign will then automatically release to the second participant, and so forth through that process. SimulSign, that second option, is the exact opposite. SimulSign will deliver the invitations to your participants simultaneously. So you have 2 or 3 participants. They will each receive the invitation simultaneously, and they can sign on a first-come, first-served basis. There's no order, and they can sign whenever they have access or interest. So the question always comes is, which one's better? And I don't really think either is better. It's just situational. It's kind of one of those things, well, you just kind of know it when you see it. You'll know when you have a specific order of signers. You'll know that participant 1 has to sign first. They need to review and sign, and then AuthentiSign can release to the second participant. You'll know when you don't care. I don't care who signs in what order. I just want to send these out for signatures and get them back. So in this instance, we are going to use SimulSign. We talked about inline a little bit more in our advanced signings. Some of our signing process can be tied to inline signing, but in this instance, for the essentials, we're just going to go with SimulSign so that all of our participants receive the invitation simultaneously. Under step 1, there's also some advanced options where you can set expiration dates for your signing event. If the date expires or comes to that expiration and the signing is not complete, it will expire and the signing will no longer be active or accessible to your participants. You can also have AuthentiSign send out reminders, reminding your participants that they have an in-progress signing that has yet to be completed by them. People who have signed do not receive reminders. Only those who have yet to sign receive the reminders, and they can receive them in hour intervals. After that first 4 hours, and then repeating periodically at those hour intervals. Final advanced option is the final AuthentiSign ID position. Every final signing has an AuthentiSign ID, and you can choose to position that the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. By default, it goes into the top left corner of the signed pages. So that's step 1. A majority of the time, you're going to give your signing a name, and you're going to choose the participant order, and then quickly move on to step 2, participants. Clicking on participants, because I have linked this signing to a transaction, I have this option to pull in my transaction contacts to be participants to the signing. It's the second option. I'm going to select that option first. I'm going to pull from my transaction file, and I'm going to add myself and Bradley as remote signers to this AuthentiSign signing. Upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, that Add button in the dialog box, clicking on Add to add these participants from my transaction file. I'm going to click on that Add button again. So if you want to look at adding a manual participant, you can also pull from your transaction desk contacts. That's the third option. If you've been saving contacts to your transaction desk account, you can pull from there. You can also quickly add yourself as a participant. And really, honestly, if you do not have signature requirements, there's really no need to add yourself as a participant to the signing. You are going to participate because you're the creator. You're going to receive notifications, and you'll have access and visibility to the signing event. So unless you have signatures, really not a big reason to add yourself. But I am going to click here to add new participant. I want to quickly discuss the different participant types as well as the required fields. Everything below email is optional. Role and PIN and company and state, that's all optional information. You do not have to add it. The type, the name, and the email has to be added in. Those are requirements. Starting with the type, remote signer simply suggests that your participant has an email account and access to it. They have their smartphone or their tablet or their laptop or their desktop. They have an email account and they have access to it. Authentisign will deliver the email invitation directly to their email account. Remote works just as well if they're sitting right next to you or if they're 1,000 miles away, across the table, across the county, across the country. Remote signer simply suggests that they have an email account and a device to access it. In person, Authentisign still delivers an email invitation, but in the instance of in person, you receive the email invitation on the signer's behalf. You are going to receive the invitation and hand your device over to the signing participant. The thing that changes with in-person is that you also need to create a custom PIN number, host PIN number for yourself to authenticate that you are standing there with the participant when they signed. So if you go in person, Authentisign still delivers an email invitation. Authentisign delivers that invitation to you as the host. You create a host PIN to authenticate that you were standing with that participant when they signed. So I know that 85% of statistics are made up, but I would say 95% of the time, your signers will be remote. They have email accounts, and they have access to them through their smartphones, tablets, laptops, or desktops. So those are your signing participants. We also have two additional ones, reviewers and CC only. A reviewer has almost all of the same requirements as a signer. They are invited to participate. They receive an invitation to participate, to review the documents. They have a responsibility to accept or reject those documents as written. They just have no signature requirements. So yes, they are invited into the signing to review the documents. They have to accept or reject them. If they don't accept them, then the signing stalls with them. A reviewer has to accept or reject the documents as written. They just have no signature requirements. A CC only, along with everybody else who participates, signers, yourself, reviewers, everybody gets a copy once the final signing is final and complete. Everybody gets a copy. Your remote signers get copies. Your in-persons get copies. Your reviewers get copies of those signed documents. A CC only, that's all they get. They receive a copy of the signed documents once all participants have completed. So those are the different participant types that you can add into your signing. Their name, first, middle initial, last name, email address, the role that they play. Are they the buyer, the seller, the landlord, the tenant? You can select the role that they'll play in the signing event. Again, optional. Everything else that we're talking about down is optional. The only other thing I want to talk about is the signing PIN. Optional PIN. You do not need to create a PIN number for your participant. If you don't feel that their email account is secure enough, or if you want to deliver an extra level of security, that's where the PIN number comes in. You create the PIN, you deliver the PIN to the participant in a secondary communication. Authentisign will not include your optional PIN in the invitation email. If you choose to include an optional PIN number, you create the PIN using a minimum of 5 characters. You create the PIN, you deliver the PIN to the signing participant. Other optional features for their contact information, at the bottom here, middle third, lower middle third, custom signature. If your participant has a custom signature, not just their name plus trustee for the estate of, their name plus power of attorney for, their name or the name of their trust or the name of their corporation. If you need their signature to be something other than their name, then you can use the custom signature field to create that custom signature stamp. Remember, you are just creating stamps. Your participant will create a signature and click to accept the stamps that we're about to plot. So different participants that can be added, the different types that can be added, the different signature, customized signatures that you can create for them. You just create the stamp. They actually create the signature. Canceling out of that add participant view, we've added 2 participants. The X will remove them from the signing. The I is so that you can review their information. Make sure it's all accurate and correct as you save it into the signing event. And I'm just looking at the email addresses so I know where these emails are going to be delivered. And I think those will be fine. So I've given our signing a name. In detail, step 1, I chose a name and simul sign. Here in step 2, I added our 2 participants. And you can add, there are no restrictions from the number of participants that you can add. So certainly add as many as you have for required signatures. Step 3 here, moving on to step 3, we're going to include completed forms and documents into the signing. The top option, because I linked my signing to my transaction, I'm going to select from my transaction forms and documents. That's the top option so that I can select forms that I typed up within my file. And I'll just add a few here. 1, 2, skip a few. And that looks about right. But not only forms that I typed up, but also documents that I have saved within that transaction file. So I have access to both completed forms and saved documents within my transaction file. And I'm going to add in the contract, the agency agreement, and the disclosure. And I'm going to add those into this signing event. But there are 7 other ways. There are 8 total ways to get completed forms and documents into your signing event. Authentisign is asking me, there are what we refer to as Authentisign signature templates, where on a lot of forms we've gone through and designated where a buyer signs, where a seller signs, where an agent or broker signs. And that's what this little pop-up system layout mappings is asking. Should their stamp be placed anywhere there's a buyer 1 requirement? Should Zach be placed anywhere there's an agent 1 requirement, as opposed to 2 or 3 or 4, as opposed to 2, 3, or 4. You can have up to that many participants to your signing in those positions. So yes, I want Bradley's signatures and initials to be plotted everywhere there's a buyer 1 signature or initial requirement. Yes, I want Zach's signatures and initials plotted anywhere there's a requirement for a selling agent. I'm going to save those positions. If you don't want to use our layouts, just ignore, and Authentisign will not plot any signatures and initial stamps. You will be required to drag and drop them onto the pages as I save those layout mappings. It's going to map them to the exclusive buyer and the contract. The disclosure does not have a template mapping. Clicking on Add again, I'm going to click here on Add. So that was the top option. You can, if you're not working with transactions but you're typing up forms, you can select from forms. If you've typed up individual forms, you can access those individual forms. I don't see that I've typed up any. And I know that I have not typed up any because there's no plus signs next to these. I cannot just select, oh yeah, I need the short sales, and I'm going to add that in. No, I cannot. I have to have typed up a copy or a version of that form in order to include it into the signing. This is just a header. This is just the name of the form. It's not a version. It's not the form itself. It's just a header. It's just identifying any forms that I've typed up for that short sale information. You see if I have, the difference is this. When I look at transaction forms, you'll see these plus signs next to the folder. See here, there's no plus signs next to any of these folders. That means I've never typed up an individual form. I have typed up forms and added them to transactions. So I can select those transaction forms and add them to my signing event. There's no plus sign, it means you've never created the version and have no opportunity to add from that particular form header. But if you are typing up individual forms, you'll see little plus signs next to the form header. Expand that form name and select the versions that you've typed up. And cancel out of that view. Clicking on add again. Click it one more time. So forms, but also middle of the pack here, upload a file. This is a good one to pull documents from your computer's hard drive. So I click here on upload a file. I'm prompted to browse my computer so that I can upload PDF documents, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, image files. They are all supported document types. So I'm going to select this PDF document to upload this document from my computer into the signing. So I can always access documents I have saved locally on my computer. Add, one more time, add, because we can also pull from the cloud. We have integrations with Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive. So if you're utilizing any of those cloud storage services, you can integrate your Authentisign account with them. I have an integration with Google Drive so that I can pull documents from the cloud into my Authentisign signing. And I think in terms of essentials, those are the three essentials: from your files or forms, from your computer, or from the cloud. Are there additional ways? Sure there are. You can fax, you can print out a cover sheet and fax directly to your signing. You can generate that custom email address for this signing and email documents directly in. You can, if you're on a PC, you can install our Authentisign print driver so that you can virtually print documents directly into your signing. So yes, there are, by all means, there are a number of different ways to get completed forms and documents. From an essentials standpoint, pulling from your computer, pulling from the cloud, and pulling from your transactions, I think are the most essential. Access your completed forms, documents, add them to your signing event. Link is a feature of our broker file manager so that if your broker has set up document checklists, you can directly link documents back to those mandatory placeholders. This is one of those things, you know it if you know it. If you've never seen it, then it's not pertinent. Your broker probably has not set up any checklists for you for online document review. If they have, the opportunity is there to link your signed documents directly back to those placeholders. We'll talk about layouts here in just another moment. I want to talk about them in the design step because like we've created the Authentisign signature templates to automatically plot signatures and initials, you can create your own. We call them layouts. On the user level, they're called layouts, where you can save plotted positions of signatures and initials. You can save those plotted positions as a layout, and we'll see that here as we move on to step 4. We'll talk about layouts a little bit more. Design step. This is where we're going to plot where the signature and initial requirements. We're not signing. This is by no means a signing. We are preparing these completed forms and documents to be signed. You've done this before, I promise you. You may have never done it digitally like we are now, but you've printed these pages to paper previously. And you've gone through with your trusty highlighter and you've highlighted that signature line. Or you've printed it to paper and you've put that little sticky stamp that says sign here with a little arrow and you've stuck that into the margins of the printed page so that your signer can identify where the signature and initial requirements are. That's essentially what we're doing here, but we're doing it digitally. Upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, we have a signer's option. Signers, Zach, by default, we have Zach and Bradley, our two participants to the signing. I want to drag and drop. I'm going to click on that menu item. I chose Bradley from my signers list. Now I'm going to expand this drag and drop option. I click it one time because it expands the number of options we have for drag and drops. And I'm going to click and hold. Now I'm going to click and hold my mouse down to drag that signature block onto the page. I'm going to use the little undercarriage here. It's a little circle gear and a trash can. I'm going to use the circle gear to add a date stamp. so that Authentisign will auto-date the page. When Michael clicks to accept and sign, Authentisign will auto-date the page. So yes, if Bradley receives and signs today, it will show today's date. But if Bradley doesn't get to it till tomorrow or Thursday or some other day of the week, that's the date that will be plotted to the page, the day Bradley actually signs. Additional features, so when I click on the block that I plotted, it gets little squares around the perimeter so that I can, reduce or enlarge the initial, or excuse me, the signature in this case. But it also generates that little undercar, because in this case, perhaps I want to do that printed name as well. I'm going to add a name block so that when Bradley clicks to sign, it will also print his name onto the page. So I'm dragging and dropping those features onto the page. Again, these other features I should have typed up completely. I just typed them up a little bit when I typed up these forms. As I scroll through, I want to start acknowledging where signatures and initials need to go. This is part of the template. Electronic signatures. I need Bradley to initial, click and hold. I'm up in the upper third of the screen. Click and hold to drag and drop that initial onto the page. Use the little squares around the perimeter to resize that block. I want to ensure that everywhere there's a required or even optional signature or initial, I want to make sure I plot that onto the page. Continue to scroll through. Nothing on this page. La la la. 2 of 9, we're good. 3 is good. No requirements here. Making sure I filled out the form correctly. Looks good. Scrolling through, making sure I acknowledge checkboxes when I typed up the form. Electronic signatures, there's that initial requirement again. One feature I can do here, oh, you know what? I forgot to add that provision. Upper third of the screen, right-hand side, markup. Markup allows you to add some markups to your online forms here. We're not editing them, we're marking them up. And in this instance, to add some additional terms, I'm going to use the T for text. I'm going to click on it one time. Click. That's it. I release the mouse. I'm not holding the mouse anymore. I've released it. I've activated the text tool. Now I want to decide where do I want to plot this text box here under other terms. Click once to plot the text box. Double click to enter, add, edit text. So double click and type. Type to add detail, content, or special provisions or other terms. Using letters, numbers, special characters, whatever you might need to type up that term or provision. And I can use the squares around the perimeter to format the box. I can also use the trash can to delete it, or the little circle gear to add some visual settings, because I want to change the font color from black to blue. Something like that. And I do want Bradley to initial that provision. So use markup tools. There's some other tools there, line draw and highlight. Maybe you're just in that habit where you want to go through and make some highlights. You just feel that need to highlight something. That's what the draw highlight. Click it once to activate the highlight. And maybe I just want Bradley to be I click and hold to highlight. I want him to highlight my contact information. Make sure he feels comfortable where that stuff goes. So scrolling down, this is a little support, Authentisign and electronic support. But you can plot signatures and initials anywhere they need to go. Optional, let's do an optional one. That's kind of an essential. That's a signature. So I misplotted. I'm going to use the trash can to delete it. Let's do an optional initial for Bradley. And we'll switch the participants. We'll do the optional one. I just want to show you how your participants interact with the optional signatures and initials. There's other features here. They're not really essentials. I'm not going to go too far into the other stamps other than signatures and initial stamps. We talk about the others in an advanced Authentisign. Right now, I just want you to feel comfortable with dragging and dropping, using some markups for strike over. Let's talk about the strike over for a moment. We plotted a text box previously, but we looked at a highlight. We can also strike things over. Let's draw a line. Click it once to activate. What do I want to draw a line over? I want to draw on a line over where it says create an identity. I'm going to click and hold the mouse button to drag. Once I get to the terminus, I release the mouse so that I can strike things over in that capacity. And then maybe in that instance, I do want Bradley. Oh, again, misplotted. So I'm going to use that little undercarriage trash can. So I want to switch my participants to Bradley and then initial. So you can initial that change that we made. All right, let's talk about layouts for a moment. Maybe you have these instances where you upload documents quite often. To prepare a counter offer, a custom office document, an agency disclosure, or some other office document that's not in your forms library that you just need to get signed, and you add it to your signing events all the time, and you find yourself dragging and dropping blocks onto that document over and over for Bradley, and he needs to sign this page, and this page also needs to be date stamped and so forth. So you end up spending a lot of time manually dragging and dropping required signatures and initials across the pages of a document. Do that one more time, and then save those positions as a layout. Middle third of the screen, right-hand side, layouts. Because I can save those plotted positions as a layout. And it's just for the, I'm going to do for the disclosure and for that user guide. So that the next time I import that or upload that document, I'm going to name this buy side. And I can certainly add 2, 3, however many initials and signatures, and then save them as a layout. So it's the next time, so I have the buy side disclosure, the buy side guide. All Authentisign is remembering is the position. It remembers that I plotted the signature and date stamp in this position. It remembers that I plotted the initials in this position. That's all it's remembering. So that the next time I upload this same document, I can apply the layout. Authentisign remembers the position and will apply the name for whoever is in that signing event. Authentisign is not remembering Bradley's name. All Authentisign is remembering is the position, so that I can apply the layout the next time I have that same document with a different signing participant. So utilize those features of the design to drag and drop initials and signatures, to mark up using text, to plot text boxes, to highlight, and to strike over, line draw. Once you've plotted signatures and initials, save those positions as layouts. So the next time you have that same document, you can apply the layout for that new participant. So that's the design step. We have prepared these forms and uploaded documents for signatures. Now we want to deliver the invitations to our signing participants. I'm going to click here on the Next button. Upper third of the screen, right-hand side, Next. We are going to finalize and send. We can customize the invitation that's about to be delivered to our participants. Customize bottom of the dialog box, customize invitation. We can type up a custom subject line or a custom message to be added to the Authentisign invitation. So you can customize those for instructions or words of encouragement or any other content that you would like to include in that invitation email message, both subject and content body of the message. Otherwise, we're just going to send the invitations. Upper third of the screen, right-hand side of that dialog box, I'm going to click on the Send Invitations button. And Authentisign, in this instance, we chose SimulSign. So Authentisign will deliver the invitations to both my participants simultaneously. Had I chosen inline, I would have also created a linear order of participants, and Authentisign would deliver first to the first participant. Okay, they were successfully delivered. Back to our Authentisign dashboard. See, we have a lightning bolt here. That means we've set up the signing and delivered the invitations. The ribbon means the signing is complete. It means all of our participants have completed the signing event. So I'm going to go over now. I'm going to tab over to my tab over to my email account here, my demonstration email account. I am Bradley, Zach Practice. I set up the signing. I created the signing. I am sender in name only. The email is being delivered by secure@authentisign.com. Instances, they make it filtered, so have your participants check those other tabs or other bulk or spam or things like that. In the instance that the invitation is not delivered directly to the inbox, have them check those other folders for the receipt of that email invitation. So Bradley is going to click the subject line to open. Remember, we could have customized that, but the name of our signing is referenced, so it is customized to a certain extent with the name of our signing event. We could have also customized the body of the message. We could have added that message here into the body. Otherwise, Bradley's simply going to click on the words or the big blue image to be presented with the documents. The first thing that Bradley's going to do is create a signature. He's either going to choose from some prefabbed fonts, or he's going to draw his signature for his digital representation of his signature. It's a good time for questions. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it previously, but there is a chat section available within the GoTo training sidebar. I'm going to type a little hello in that message or in that chat section so you can type questions in there. We are reviewing those questions. Some of you have found it already, but certainly have an opportunity to type questions as we go through. Bradley has participated before, but maybe he wants to change his signature. He certainly has that opportunity for some prefab signature fonts that he can choose from. Select font style brings up those prefab fonts, and he can certainly choose one. If you would prefer to draw the signature, especially if you're on a touch screen, smartphone or tablet with a touch screen, or these Surface Pros or whatever has a touch screen, drawing the signature can be very easy. Now I'm on a mouse pad. It's not super difficult. It takes a little bit more practice, but certainly can use Bradley Michaels. All right, so I can use the mouse pad to create that wet-looking signature, draw my signature. I can clear it if I want to try it again. Looks pretty good definitely for my handwriting. It looks good. I can clear it and try again, or click next. So I'm going to do the same thing. Bradley Michaels, I did in the previous one, added that happy face. So you can certainly, whatever you would like to be your signature, you have this opportunity to do so. And I can adopt that, so I can clear it and try it again, or adopt it. And accept the terms of service and end user licensing agreement, clicking on accept. Now, Bradley is being presented with the documents to sign. He certainly has an opportunity to read through the documents first before he starts the signing. Can't click yet. Hasn't started the signing. He's just kind of in a review phase now. When he's ready to start signing, simply clicks on the Start button in the upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, Start. AuthentiSign will locate and highlight the block. Now, you can certainly still scroll and read, and then click to accept. AuthentiSign will take him to the next block. Read, accept. Next block, read, accept. Counting down. AuthentiSign is counting. We've completed 3 of 9 mandatory fields. There is the text box that we typed in and the initial block that we plotted. Initial, again, read, review, click to accept. There was our highlight. Just wanted to make sure you saw that. That's our highlight. That is part of the document now. These features that we added, the strikeovers and there's an optional, and the highlighters and the text boxes. This is an optional initial block. Optional. So there's a green check and a red X, so it's optional. When Bradley clicks on it, he has the option to accept and plot the signature, or decline and remove, the initial. Accept and plot the initial, or decline and remove the initial. He can still successfully complete the signing, but decline that particular initial. I'm going to decline this one just to show that, yes, I can still complete it, remove the initial from the page, as opposed to this required initial. This one's required. The only way that he cannot click to accept this is if he rejects the signing. Upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, there is a reject option. Decline to sign. Exit, come back later, or in this case, return. So optional initials and signatures will allow them to accept or decline that particular initial or signature. This is a required one. Click to accept. Completed 8. If he doesn't want to sign, then he rejects the signing. Otherwise, he clicks to accept, and in this case, completed 9 of 9. He can still stay in review. Reject is still an option. Once he's completed all the required and mandatory fields, signature and initial fields, he can complete the signing. He's done. He's reviewed it. Complete. Upper third right, complete. Stay in review. Now I'm going to complete. Bradley has completed his portion. I'm going to close that little thank you message. We're going to access our other email account here to access the additional message. We're getting some messages. Here's the invitation to review and sign Bradley. We've also been getting some signing actions that Bradley is going through the process. See if this is Michael Bradley has completed, has signed and accepted. You as the creator are going to receive notification emails as your participants go through the process. But I need to sign now, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to create my signature. Click here to sign. 17 pages, 3 blocks. I'm going to create my signature. I think for mine, I showed draw for Bradley. I think for mine, I will just choose one of the prefabs. So again, I can select or draw. In this case, I'm just going to select the font style. Kind of like that one. Yeah, let's change it up. We'll go with this one. We'll save that style. We'll accept the terms of the end user licensing agreement. Upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, we're going to start the signing. You can see Bradley's initials and signatures have been plotted to the page. Here's that. Now let's, just to show the difference, we declined Bradley's, but I'll accept mine. So mine will be plotted. That's the difference. Bradley declined and removed his initial. I accepted and plotted mine. You can see Bradley's. We have a final signed. Do I want to reject? No. I want to complete. Complete the signing. Stay in review. No, I'm good. Complete. Now all of our participants have completed. All participants will now receive email copies of those final signed documents. Let's go over here. It's this one here. We'll see that. I just want to show you that final sign that comes through. Bradley will receive a copy of the final signed document. And we'll come back in a moment. I'm going to go back to the AuthentiSign dashboard. And just so I don't get logged out, upper third of the screen, right-hand corner, Transactions desk. I can go back to my Transaction Desk homepage. Because maybe I got the email notifications notifying me that everybody's completed. Clicking on e-signatures, we can re-access the signing event. Clicking on the signing name, we can see that each participant has completed. That's why there's checkered flags here. Final document is available, as well as the individual signed documents. So I have access to both a comprehensive final, all merged together, or individual finals. Now if they're here, let's see if they're here. AuthentiSign, final revision. So Bradley receives a copy, has access to the documents that he just signed. Everybody gets a copy. Not only do we get copies here to our signing, not only do we get copies to our email, but because we linked our signing to our transaction, clicking on Transaction Desk, I'm going to go into that transaction file, Michael Bradley, Documents. Because I linked the signing to my transaction file, I now have copies of those signed documents directly delivered into my transaction file. And within transaction, if you create a transaction file, there's the link to AuthentiSign right there. Once you have created your transaction, typed up your forms, you can go directly to AuthentiSign to create a signing and prepare those forms and documents for signatures. Let's show the same thing through Pro, because maybe some of you are in the Pro view. And we're going to work with existing transaction. And same file, Michael, Bradley. Clicking on the file name to re-access that file. Documents, I use the red bullet points on the left-hand side. I call, again, dashboard of red bullet points. Go to the documents. Again, access to those signed documents. I can review them. I can click on the document name, residential contract. I can review it. I can see the signatures and initials that they've been plotted to the page, wherever they've been plotted. And there's that ID, right? I mentioned it at the very beginning. There it is in the upper left. You can certainly move that to the upper right, bottom left, bottom right, but you certainly have that opportunity to move that into an appropriate location. There's our initials and our provisions and our initials and our signatures and so forth, our highlights. So those are all part of that final signed document. Back to documents, dashboard, red bullet point documents, because what you might want to do now, select the document. If you are using transactions, select the document. I would like to, upper third of the screen center, I would like to email the selected document. And this option is available in both Lite and Pro. I would like to email the selected document because I want to deliver this document as a link to the cooperating agent. I'm going to send it to the listing agent. Just my dummy account. And here, please review, purchase, offer, call with questions. Now, I'm most likely going to call the listing agent to let him know I'm sending him the offer. And I'm sending it as a link for two reasons. One, it's going to be a link found within the email message as I send this email. So it's going to significantly reduce the size of the email message being delivered. PDF attachments can increase the size of the outbound message. So I'm sending as a link to decrease that size. I'm also sending as a link so that when the cooperating agent clicks on the link to open the document, I will be notified. I will get an email notification that the recipient has opened the document. So here's the email I just sent. Transaction desk document sent from Zach. I just sent this to the cooperating agent. Please review, purchase, offer, and call with questions. When they click on this link to open the document, I get an email notification. I'm notified that they've, time and date stamp, that they've opened this document. I don't know what they're going to do with it once they opened it, but I do know that they opened it, received it, and had an opportunity to review it. So this is the document I just sent from my transaction file to that cooperating listing agent. So you have those opportunities once the documents are received back to your transaction to deliver them outbound. And again, right from the transaction file dashboard, you see that link to AuthentiSign. Clicking here will start a brand new signing for this particular transaction. With that said, I want to be very mindful of everybody's time, very appreciative of the opportunity to present. I'm going to go back to the Lite view. I'm going to re-raise this audio message. Scrolling down, I do want to speak to a couple features. Toll-free, 800-668-8768. We do offer toll-free tech support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Anytime you have access to a phone and service, you can give us a call. You can also, and I'm also going to paste this into the go-to training sidebar, you can schedule free, live, interactive webinars for yourself, your team, your office. They are tailored to the time that you have, the content that you would like to cover. You pick the day and time from the calendar. We confirm with a go-to meeting invitation so that they are more personalized and you can get specific training to the content that you would like to cover. With that said, thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I do hope that this webinar was a benefit to you. And until we webinar again, I hope that you have a tremendous day.